So, let me talk a little bit about our upcoming projects. We've got 53 miles now. We want to do more. We've got 3.5, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, 3.5, 4 miles of streetcar. We're under construction on another line and planning for more. So I want to just give you a hint of some of these things. This, Gerald, you may know the date on this, but this goes way back. This is our light rail plan from the 70s. 74. And we've actually delivered on a number of these, I'm proud to say. So the lines that are in service now actually cover the heart of that original vision. The west line added covers another piece, and then the yellow line that extends to the south here is our Portland and Milwaukee light rail line, which we are trying to get into final design for and hope to be completed in 2015. The yellow line extending just across the river into Vancouver, Washington out there. We hope to have complete by 2018, 2019. And then this red line here is on the other side of the Willamette River going to Lake Oswego, which is what you would have seen if you had been able to do the Willamette streetcar, Willamette shoreline, as a streetcar extension from South Waterfront. So there's not much left. The two pieces left after that are this, running to the southwest, which we just got consensus from the region this year that is the next major focus for planning. And then finally, a connection, one or both of these connections. That's still a few years out. We've got to leave something for other people to do. This is a graphic from Metro, which is our regional government. They do things like operate the zoo and the expo center. They also are in charge of, but do not exclusively do, the planning for transportation and land use in the region. They define the urban growth boundary, and they lead with TriMet's partnership the high-capacity transit planning in the region. This was the outcome of a process that came out of last year's regional transportation plan update that focuses on, okay, what are the next best lines? The green is the highest tier, the ones that perform the best. One of them is take west, our commuter rail, and improve the service, increase the frequency, and put in a few more stations, and that seems to do very well. Another is the southwest line, which I talked about, which will be our next focus. The other colors are lines that did reasonably well, but didn't perform as well. And the ones that are of most interest these days are, like I said, these extensions down to Oregon City to the south. This extension out here, not quite that far, but to a community college and further into Gresham. This extension out here to Forest Grove, another 5 miles on a soon-to-be-abandoned, perhaps scarcely used freight line. And then a small extension here to an area called the Amber Glen, which is in the city of Hillsborough, where they have really ambitious redevelopment plans and hope that rail can support that. The Portland to Milwaukee light rail line, this is the one that we hope to open in 2015, and runs from the end of the mall down at Portland State University, which is just about a mile south of here, across the Willamette River through the South Waterfront, across the Willamette River, and then through the southeast neighborhoods to the first suburb to the south, which is called Milwaukee. A great new bridge will be part of that project. That bridge will have light rail, it will have streetcar, it will have bus, it will have pedestrians, it will have bicycles, it will not have cars. So light rail, the streetcar, and the bus are all going to operate in the same lane. And we're able to put the streetcar on the rail and the light rail on the same location as long as we don't have stations because the vehicle dimensions are different. But that new connection is a brand new bridge across the river. And if you've learned anything about Portland by now, the river is a major defining part of what Portland is. And there's either a bridge there, which means that it's an important connection, or there's no bridge, and that's a wall. And having this new bridge will open up new opportunities for transit especially, but for pedestrians and bicycles as well. Ridership somewhere in the 25,000 range projected for 2035. About, I believe, 13,000 of them, 14,000 new to transit. Great opportunities for improving bus service with being able to use that bridge crossing. And serving, this is the bustling downtown of Milwaukee, Oregon. But serving this community as well as the neighborhoods in between. Very cost-effective service. I'm doing a presentation, I didn't bring it, but I'm doing a presentation next week to our board, who is very new, about partially why we do MAX in the first place, why we do rail, the cost-effectiveness, the attractiveness, the ability to serve all kinds of people with rail in a very cost-effective and efficient manner. And this line is no exception. And it's also, as something you have to talk about these days, up to 14,000 direct jobs on the project, and that's very important in communicating the urgency to go soon. The interesting thing about this project, unfortunately, right now, is that we were getting good signals from the Federal Transit Administration for a year plus that, yes, it's a relatively higher cost project compared to some around the country, but we have been very successful in getting 60% or more from the federal government for our rail projects. And they have been giving us signals that, okay, it looks like we might be able to do that, or at least there's a real good chance. Well, last month they told us, no, sorry, we can give you 50%. Good project, we're behind you, we're ready to move you forward, but you can only have 50%. So we're in the middle right now of a recalibration effort to raise a little bit more funding and trim some without actually shortening the lines to be able to deliver on the promise that everybody expects. And I'm happy to say it's going well. We have to come up with hopefully at least $90 million worth of funding. And as of last week, we've hit 37.4. So I'll pass the hat later. I always get the question, why does it take so long? This is the long and winding path to the Portland and Milwaukee project. Way up at the top, sorry, the numbers are a little blurry up there, but you can go back into the 90s with some original work for the north-south line, which was a very grand vision to go all the way from Vancouver, Washington, through the North Portland neighborhoods, through downtown, through southeast, and out to either Clackamas or Oregon City. Carried that through 96, 98, when we had some votes that didn't quite, funding votes that didn't quite turn out as we wanted them, including one that ended up having to go statewide for this funding, which doesn't make much sense. We had to retool in 1990, after 1998, we had a ballot measure fail. We had to retool, and staff was literally directed to go out there and study everything but light rail. Don't study light rail anymore on this quarter, it's not working. A year or two with the public, and the public said, put light rail back on the table. It's time to seriously look at that. When we did the supplemental draft environmental impact statement up here, our locally preferred alternative was Green Line first, and then Portland to Milwaukee. This project then had, once we were sure we were delivering on the Green Line, had another supplemental draft environmental impact statement. As far as I know, it's the only complex of projects that has had a supplemental amendment to the supplemental and a supplemental draft environmental impact statement. The good thing is we managed to actually build part of this already, and we're building more of it. And we're finishing up, we're basically done with preliminary engineering. We're having to get that last piece of the funding puzzle together before we can go into final design. Construction should start. Big deal around here, maybe not so much for many of you, a big deal around here is there are salmon in that river out there, and you got to be real careful how you construct and when you construct. There's a 4-month window during which we can work in the water. The rest of the time we can't work in the water. That 4-month window starts on July 1st, 2011, and we plan to be in the water. The other project heading south is the Lake Oswego to Portland Transit project, which is a couple of months from publishing a draft environmental impact statement. We're still looking at a range of options that include a streetcar extension from South Waterfront to Lake Oswego, which is the first suburb to the south down here, about 5 miles, an extension on one of the best land deals we've ever seen in this region. The old operator along the Willamette shoreline there went out of business a long time ago. In the 80s, a consortium of governments bought the right-of-way for, I think, $2 million, something on that range. 800,000. Okay, 800,000, even better. We are able to put together a project. The total project is in the $350 to $400 million range, which shows you how quickly construction costs are going up. But almost $100 million of that is right-of-way, which we already own but are able to bring to the table as match. Learned about that back in the 80s. Great idea, because now we're able to come back and capitalize on that. This line would have about 10 stations heading to the south, serving the neighborhoods down there, and then connecting to Lake Oswego, which currently has, you can't tell, there's no way you can tell, but the river here obviously is a barrier, and then there's a steep slope up into the West Hills that basically chokes off the access from Lake Oswego to downtown. And it's this tiny little corridor that has a 3-lane highway that doesn't even have sidewalks on it and literally can't be extended or can't be widened. And so this is really only the only opportunity for increasing mobility along that. I have some fun little visions for what that might look like that were developed as part of the earlier framing. So here's the Willamette shoreline running near some area in the
John's Landing
area to the south of downtown. And here it's envisioned as it might look with a streetcar. Here along Macadam, which is on the roadway heading to the south, and envisioned with a streetcar. Here in the tight neighborhoods along Riverwood Road, envisioned with a light rail station. And then here at the terminus in downtown Lake Oswego with the station added. Now that project is, like I said, in the DIS stage, and if there is a project that comes together, we would hope to be in service around 2017. You'll hear more about this, and I don't have a great graphic, so I'll just talk about it for a moment. Prototype streetcar. The streetcars that are out there now were Czech built. We have Oregon Iron Works, who is ready, willing, and able to construct streetcars in the United States. We have a prototype car that they built. They're working on a domestically made propulsion system. That's part of what is going on now. I'm talking about the extension to the north. This is the Columbia River crossing. This is a joint project between the two state DOTs, the two transit agencies, because across the river it's a different world. It's Washington State. It's C-Tran, which is the agency that operates the buses in Clark County, Washington. The two cities and the two counties to make this project come together. A freeway improvement and light rail project at the same time, extending light rail from the Expo Center, which is way down at the bottom edge of this. We provide service there today, hopping across the Hayden Island and then across into downtown Vancouver. This project, we are in preliminary engineering. We are close to publishing a final environmental impact statement. Again, once some details are worked out, and hope to be in service in 2018 or perhaps 2019. Interesting bridge configuration. This is an artist's rendition of the current design. You can see it's a stacked transit highway bridge. I apologize, this is small, but it gives you a sense. Freeway traffic on top, lower level transit on one bridge, lower level pedestrian and bike on the other bridge.